You're listening to the Club Scene Podcast, powered by Energia, with Ger Burke, Darragh Frawley and Maurice Hartery.
Tough day on Saturday.
It is so relentless.
We've been involved in rugby over the years.
Will it get a suit?
No, I think it's bad form.
They'll be fine.
Clueless.
Oh God, this is going to be the day when it's all over. Second.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome along to the Club Scene Podcast, focusing on all things Energia AIL and club rugby in general. On this week's pod, we'll be reviewing the round 18 games from last weekend as the regular season came to a thrilling end, as well as looking ahead to the semi-finals weekend ahead. It's knockout rugby from here. We'll be speaking to Old Wesley trio Morgan Lennon, Kieran O'Shea and Eoin Deegan about their historic season, which saw them promoted to the top flight of Irish club rugby for the first time since 1997. We'll have our race of clubs updated in association with Calaparl after another bumper weekend of games, which is sure to provide yet more drama and controversy. And as always, we'll have the usual hot takes, poor predictions and slightly above average humour. But before we get to that, I would like to introduce my co-hosts. A weekend of controversy for this man as he gave poor Chuck the cold shoulder for Cocoms, leading to bad blood in Bective v Thomond and an unopened bottle of Merlot. The good news is that they've been drawn against each other in the semi-finals this weekend, so maybe a cheese board might tempt him to the capital. Now aged 39 and aging like a cheap bottle of red wine, Thomond under-20s most improved there 2007, and our favourite thing on the wing, Mr. Maurice Hartery. He is on a well-deserved night off after a 2-week Easter break, but we do wish him a belated happy birthday on that front. Fresh back off the M8 motorway after spending last week flogging hats, scarves and headbands to the heroic protesters, this man has taken the reins in a prominent university in Cork, and we wish him the very best of luck, all while trying to organise my stag. Is there anything this man can't do? The self-proclaimed show favourite, Mr. Ger Burke. Burkey, a lot to take in there. How's your Monday evening going as the spring air is fresh in the air and the sun is shining?
Yeah, the fresh air is doing me a lot of good after the pepper spray, and I got there the weekend below Whitegate, you know.
Yeah, but we must say you got done for pepper spraying because you weren't breaking into people's cars. Were you part of the protest down there? Was what people need clarity for. You don't actually need to answer that.
Joe, it's devastating. No, like me and Maurice had decided to destroy you this evening together, but he's not here, so I'm gonna wait till he's back.
Yeah, that's
and we will tell the nation what notions you have and how many people you added to a stag WhatsApp group. You absolute gobshite.
Well, if I sent you the stuff to get done, we could have anybody. We may as well have had the stag down in Whitegate.
Some cracked up.
Oh, you would, yeah. There will be a full review filled out on your abilities on that, but we'll reserve that judgment. Where you'll find us on email, theclubscenepod@gmail.com, and X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, the Club Scene Podcast. We're on all good podcast apps and we're on iTunes, so be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to us. It is the end of the season for the regular teams. They're very well done to everyone there. If you wouldn't mind logging onto Spotify or wherever just to leave an all review, and make sure you use Berkey10 for discount on Benson and Hedges cigarettes in your local centre. We are once again delighted to say that this season's podcast is powered by Energia. Make sure to follow at Energia Ireland on Instagram and TikTok for more details. Offers are available online for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. That's energia.ie/rugby smart offer. Two things to get to before we dive into the 5 divisions. Barnhull were crowned under-20 Fraser McMullen champions on Saturday afternoon, beating a gallant UCD side 23 points to 19. So very well done to Tom McKeown and all. They're a phenomenal club season for them in Barnhull, and a lot of older sick heads on Sunday and Monday. Rumours of certain Kev Dolans and co in coppers late at night, but certainly warranted. Berkey, after a 20s All-Ireland win, the club in Barnhull are going from strength to strength.
Yeah, Barnhull would have been a club that I knew very little about. Other probably Trevor Brennan being associated with Barnhull back in the day is probably the only thing I would have ever known about Barnhull before we began this podcast. And thankfully for this podcast, I suppose it's shown me, and I'd imagine it's shown other people around the country what a fantastic club they are, and I suppose it's probably coincided with their rise. And what really jumps out to me about Barnhall Frauds, like we've had them on several times. They were part of our first ever road show. Um, I suppose we know them well at this point. We've actually probably seen some of their senior players like Tommy Cohen transition into key figures behind the scenes now. But when you get the small stuff right off the pitch, I know small stuff's the wrong way of putting it, but like from the bottom up, their underage, their participation numbers, a sense of community, an absolute revelation in how you can combine our relationship with a club and university, because you would see firsthand Frauds and Limerick, on all slagging aside, it's not the easiest thing to do.
No, absolutely not.
And they have nailed it,
Yeah.
fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
And it was a couple of years back, I'd say maybe 2 seasons ago, they were on for an interview, and I think it was Tommy Cohen said something like they had, across the space of a Friday night, Saturday evening into Sunday, maybe including a Thursday night, they had something like, was it 10 adult teams playing or something? I have the figures wrong now.
No, you're not.
I think
it was 8. I think it was 8 men's teams in adult rugby, and then there was 2 women's teams.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of going, that's fucking phenomenal. And you're kind of going, like, that's not trying to just, achieve at the top. That's providing rugby for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the kind of GA mentality: get the gates open, get people in, and create a sense of community. And it's no coincidence. I say this time and again that any club that's doing things like that has numbers like that, are the clubs that are climbing the divisions, that are challenging in their respective divisions. We've talked about Terranure with Clontarf, and so on. And obviously, look, there's a population issue and et cetera, et cetera. And Jerry Thorney was going on about a news talk during the week, and we could go into that. But just to go back to Barnhall, I can't compliment them enough. And they're anyone that goes there, the player, like, was it Muzzy? Was that his name for the first time we met years ago?
Yeah, Garrett Murray, mistaken for Mexican, but
Garrett Murray. What a gentleman.
Yeah.
But it's not that they're just bringing in fellas willy-nilly. Fellas that are there seem to be there for life almost. There's a real buy-in. And in the last couple of years, their 20s have come on board, where they've really pushed that program, where they want to, again, promote from within. And they started in Division 2 of Fraser McMullen a couple of years ago and won that. And then they started to challenge, not Fraser McMullen, what's the name of the Leinster one, Frauds?
The JP Flanagan.
The JP Flanagan, thank you. Division 2 there, and then they come along and they qualify for Division 1, and they're challenging. I think they were beaten in an All-Ireland final last year, and now they're sitting as under 20 All-Ireland champions, and as well as champions of Division 2A, is it?
Yeah, and they're back up to 1B this day.
It's
historic, yeah.
Just incredible. And it's the result of years of work and dedication and volunteers and all the rest, whatever you want to put it. But just kudos. It's a remarkable job. And they should, it's going to be easy, like 1B, there's probably a bit of a panic. What's the standard going to be like? And all of a sudden, but I think, they need to take a couple of weeks and just bask in what they've achieved so far, because it is truly phenomenal.
Very well said, without a shadow of a doubt. Plenty of heartbreak in playoffs and semi-finals and finals over the last number of years, but Adrian Flavin, Sam Cawley, Tom McKeown and co, as well as all the players with the 20s, what time to be alive in Parsonstown, as it was very well put to me. Small matter of business this Saturday: both Energia All-Ireland League Division 1A semi-finals will be streamed live on Irish Rugby Plus, free to air. If you haven't registered, go and register. 2:00 sees the D6W clash between St Mary's College and Terranure College. They're expecting 5,000+ through the gates there. It's a ticketed event, shades in 1993, and that will be followed by Clontarf against Lansdowne at 4:00. So both semi-finals staggered. I would argue that you would struggle to find 2 games as good as you're going to see on Saturday. So make sure Irish Rugby Plus log in, and if obviously if you can get to the games, get to the games. But there's a whole host of fixtures which we will get to. But difficult to beat those semi-finals, Berkey.
Oh man, they've been incredible. I'm otherwise engaged this Saturday, which I'm sure you will get to later on. But I would have loved the opportunity to commentate on one of them. No, Just, we'll
What
get
are you
rugby
doing?
going.
What no? But sorry, the Division 1A
Um,
semi-finals. I suppose just to put it into context, we've been involved in the game for a long, long time. But and with respect to the Division 1B games, the 2A, 2B, 2C, there's just something about particularly the staggered kickoffs in Division
yeah,
1A that we've covered the games. You've been a part of the games where you could go into the clubhouse in Templeville Road on Saturday and you can watch the second game. There's just something about that that
absolute
is
quality.
yeah.
We commentated together in Cannes a couple of years ago. Myself, you, and Dan. We commentated on Cannes and Clontarf, and then we watched Lansdowne and Terranure
Yeah.
on our phone, sitting outside in the sunshine, enjoying a glass of white wine via the pint glass.
Yeah.
Before we went down to Casthaven for an absolute cracker of a night, if you remember
Yeah. Yeah,
correctly.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember up to a
Um,
certain point. Yeah.
yeah, like I just have to again things like this people take for granted. They're not as straightforward as people think. Again, fair play to RFU Energia for promoting a staggered kickoff, and fair play to the teams for agreeing to it. In particular, the clubs that are in the later game, because it's not as easy as just we'll play late. Like there are a lot of moving parts in this, but in an effort to promote the game as best we can and recognize that these games deserve to be seen by the people around the country, and like they're going to be spectacular. I was lucky enough to commentate on Con and Terranure in another year above in Terranure, and it was like being at fucking Coachella.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, and it was funny actually. I was only thinking about it today, Franz, before the pod. I saw a tweet from Rory O'Connor, and he was questioning. Was it Rory O'Connor? I think it was Rory O'Connor was questioning the attendance for Leinster in the Aviva Stadium, and it was in the previous week, not last week, no, but the previous week, only 8,000 or something, and it was the last URC game or something like that, and I'm kind of going. I just get a flashback memory of walking through Terranure after that semi-final, and the place is just absolutely hopping. The atmosphere it's hard to describe, put into words. Like Terranure were back in an All Ireland final for the first time ever,
Yeah.
and the weather was good, the beer was flowing, music, pizzas were going, coffee truck was
Chinos
there
were red. Chinos were
for the
red.
Texans. The chinos were very red,
Yeah.
and the fellow walked past. He goes. Well, I want to give you exactly what he said, but the gist was, why would we bother going to the RDS? Look
Yeah.
at this. Look around. And I remember just going, yeah, like again, we've moved far away from us versus them in that kind of aspect of pro versus amateur, but I was going, yeah, Jesus, and like you're talking there, I said it last week. We were sitting in Cannes after the game, and I said I would be shocked if it was anything less than 5,000 at Mary's Turf, or sorry, at Mary's Terranure. And I said, I wonder how they're going to facilitate it. Are they going to go the ticket route and fair play to them for getting organised, anticipating the crowd that's going to be there? But how incredible is that to say? There's going to be 5,000 plus people at a semi final of an All Ireland League. It's going to be streamed around the country. The glory, it's not the glory days are back, and they never will be. But Christ, the game's in a good place.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think like it's special in both games because there's a sense of anticipation and like without putting pressure on the players, they're enjoying being part of it. But it always lives up to the billing. I mean, the Con Mary's game last year that you were a part of was an old
Cracker.
school cracker semi-final purist game. Then Lansdowne Clontarf, the first half was like Transformers against whoever the evil ones were, and it was 0-0 in the second half. But people were at the game said they couldn't believe this.
Decepticons.
Yeah, Decepticons, exactly. But from where the game is and where it's going, I think for it to go to the next level is people watch the streams, get out, go, get online and comment about it. There are players that you will see in those games that will go on to play in bigger games. So 2 o'clock on Saturday in the hands of Kieran Noble and Bernard Jackman, St. Mary's against Terranure, and myself and Adrian Darcy, former back row. And
So if I had been available, who would I have been there instead of Bernard Jackman?
Yeah, that's. I think it's a fair.
If
It's
you
a fair. It's a
actually
fair.
turned your
Who
back on me for,
who'd win in an arm wrestle between Bernard Jackman and
I've
Ger
done for
Burke,
Jack in the
saying lovely things about each other on podcasts as well after Berkey's school win. But as we said, I digress. 2 and 4
To be
o'clock.
fair to him, saying actually, we say and Kieran did a fantastic job of the schools
Yeah, they were
final
brilliant.
and research. Sure.
Yeah, no brainer. On that front, Division 1A finished on Saturday, the 4th of April. Clontarf were beaten 14 points to 10 by St. Mary's College. St. Mary's College, as we said, finished top and face off against Terranure this weekend. Cork Constitution had a 38 points to 12 win over Lansdowne and Temple Hill. They missed the playoffs for the first time in 11 years, and no disgrace in that. It's the first ever All Ireland semi final lineup in the top tier. There's been plenty of discussion over the last number of weeks and even years in this podcast about a Dublin dominated Division 1A, but it's an all Dublin semi final. Old Belvedere capped a sensational season. We spoke to Quentin O'Neill, Callum Dowling, and Jaden Beckett in the episode 18 of the pod 2 weeks ago. There were 61 points winners to Nina Ormond. Nina Ormond's 12, excuse me. Nina will play their rugby in Division 1B next year. Difficult year for them, but no doubt they'll bounce back. Terranure College were 19 points to 15 winners over UCD in Lakelands Park. A big performance for McMahon's side in Lakelands, but Terranure College securing 4th place at the expense of Cork Constitution, and UCD will be in the playoff against Garryowen at the weekend. Yo Munsters capped a fine performance in Tom Clifford Park in Division 1A with a 22 points to 12 win over Ballynahinch on Saturday the 5th as well. The final standings in Division 1A, St. Mary's College, Clontarf, Lansdowne, Terranure, your top 4, Cork Constitution, 3 points outside the top 4, as we said, for the first time in 11 years. Young Munster, Old Belvedere, Ballynahinch, 6th, 7th and 8th. UCD in the relegation playoff, and Nina Ormond in 10th. Berkey, you say the table doesn't lie. Speaking about the semi-finals, we'll get straight into those in a second, but for teams to compete in Division 1A, it takes a hell of a lot more than just 18 rounds. It takes recruitment, it takes on and off the field, getting bodies right, management, video sessions, etc. It has been remarkably competitive. You, as a member of Cork Constitution, has it been one of the most challenging and more competitive seasons you've been involved in the top flight?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I think, speaking just in general about the division, I think it's at an all-time high. I think it's at an all-time, what's the word I would use? Like the average is at its highest it's ever been. There isn't just a top end now that's absolutely quality. It's right throughout. And you can see that with a team like Nina doing what they did last year and coming up and not being able to land a win, and there was a lot of other elements around that. And luck is one of them, and luck is something you certainly need. But I think that speaks volumes of where the average standard of Division 1A is at right now. The fact that, Cookies finished 6th, and at one point people are going, they could win the league. Just again speaks volumes of where it is. It is all Dublin based, and I suppose, if I'm being honest, where's it at? It's the key things for it are depth of squad and consistency. You can afford a slip up, maybe 2, but that's it. Home form is everything, and you can't leave. If you come away from a ground going, there's 4 points we've left behind us, you do that more than once, you're in trouble, because every point counts in that league. From my own point of view, from Cork on, we lost a lot of players last year. Did our best to recruit and get guys in, and I thought we did a great job. But there were probably guys that were a little shy of experience, and there was a couple of guys trying at the deep end because of injuries. Didn't get that drop of luck that I mentioned. Missing Jack Keller for large parts of the season, missing Dave Hoyden for large parts of the season. When you've lost guys like John Ford, James Taylor already out of your squad, a couple of guys leaving mid-season for to move to Australia, our backs were against the wall and fought hard. And other than the Mary's result at home, I think, to be fair, could probably hold our head up high for how we competed all year. But we did, I won't shy away from it. The tables don't lie. It is probably a fair reflection. But again, look, I've stepped away from Con, as most people probably are aware of. They fired me because they finished 5th. No, they didn't. Probably stop laughing.
I'm just interested
like
how
a
you're
bad
going
year.
But you're gone somewhere else, are you?
Shut up. A bad year in Cannes is finishing fifth, 3 points outside of the top four. And I think that just speaks volumes of the club and the standards they hold. And I've just huge respect for that, for them and all the people involved there. And at half time last Saturday, usually we're really giving it to Terranure. We had a shot.
Yeah.
Right down to probably 20 minutes to go, 25 minutes to go, and the game last Saturday still had a shot at making top four, which is just remarkable for the club in Munster. They've shown such consistency, and they'll be back, and I kind of look forward to seeing it, and wish them all the best next year for that.
Absolutely, 100%. Let's move to this weekend's games. We have St. Mary's College against Terranure College, Clontarf against Lansdowne, and we have UCD against Garryowen in the promotion relegation playoff semi-final. The two semi-finals, Berkey, you've seen these teams up front. Let's talk a little bit about St. Mary's Terranure first. Obviously, I've asked you in interviews before in schools games, and something you always say is you need to get the emotional pitch right. You need to get your game plan right. How difficult is it going to be for the players to ground themselves in that white-hot atmosphere in Templeville Road, considering Mary's have won in Templeville Road already and Terranure have won in Lakelands? It's 1-1, it's a derby. And how much again does how much does home advantage count, particularly with how geographically close they are together?
This Saturday, I think home advantage will mean fuck all, because I think Terranure will turn up in their thousands. There'll be huge drive to get as many Terranure supporters over there as possible. And I would expect minimum of a 50-50 split. But it's just incredible, Freddie. We're St. Mary's College or Leinster Schools champions for the first time in whatever many years, 30 years or whatever it is. Connection between the club and school at its strongest. Terranure School back not this year but last year, back in their first senior cup final at school for the first time in however many years. The connection between school and club at an all-time high. Numbers of games through the roof, playing exceptional rugby. It's kind of proven to be that's really how you can be a top club. It's and it's kind of almost, I won't say unfair, it's the wrong way to put it, but it's very hard to emulate that when you don't have a secondary school or the other side of your gates, but it's phenomenal. In terms of both teams, I think Mary's will learn a lot from last year. I think going into the semi-final, they were very confident against Cannon. They should have been, because of how we had played in previous times. But we got to an emotional pitch for that semi-final and probably won the physical battle. Yeah. Weather helped and all the rest of it. You were there, and I think we probably surprised them a little. And that's what it felt. No, I'm not saying they underestimate us or anything like that. I'm not trying to bad them, but I think they'll have learned. My point being that I think they'll have learned from that semi-final last year, and also the fact that Terranure, I think their emotional pitch will be where it needs to be. But the thing, and I think they have to be favourites going into the game because they came top of the table, and I think at times this year they were unplayable. They destroyed a couple of teams on a couple of occasions. But Terranure will still believe. Doesn't matter where we came, first, second, third, or fourth means sweet F all.
Yeah.
We're in a semi-final. All we got to do is be better than Mary's for 80 minutes, take our chances, and a final await. And I think they've got a group of players that are really comfortable in that position. Paul, as a head coach, will be very comfortable in that position.
Paul Barry, yeah.
His record in semi-finals is phenomenal. When he was with Khan and when involved with Terranure, I think he's the right man for the job. I think they've managed the Carlos Spencer thing really well. They needed to play well against Khan in the second last round. They did that. The last game was probably a hard one to manage and didn't play particularly well, but they won't care. And they will enjoy and relish being underdogs.
Yeah.
And there's so many subplots and all about it. And we've been in Poke Clubhouses for alls.
Yeah.
They don't like each other. They don't shy away from not liking each other.
That's what Berkey likes the most, a good healthy rivalry. Where
and I love it. I would love to go to it on Saturday. I'd love to be up there. I wish both sets of players and coaches all the best.
Not free on Saturday, no? That's 2 o'clock in Temple Road on Saturday. As we said, join the dulcet tones of Kieran Noble and Bernard Jackman. At 4 o'clock, Clontarf welcome Lansdowne for a repeat of last year's semi-final, Berkey. Like Donlan Sheehan, Joan Bukes, Fionn Gilbert, I'm not going to go through the teams and the matchups. It has all the hallmarks of one. Like I'm the thing that comes to mind is second test South Africa Lions 2009, where it's just murdering each other. They have the measure of each other. The beauty of these two semi-finals is it's 1-1 from the league. Clontarf
Mm.
losing to Lansdowne on the Aviva Stadium back pitch in round 16 or in and around that.
Yeah,
Clontarf
funny. I think in
winning
this one
open.
falls. Don't ask me why, but my gut tells me that home advantage does mean more here. I just think that Tarf are a different animal at home.
Yeah,
I just think they're so fucking comfortable there. They just don't lose there. We beat them in the league this year, and like Jesus, it was like a funeral. Like honestly, afterwards, like it was crazy. Like they just don't lose at home. They will have the bigger crowd. They'll make themselves known. But again, what I love about this is was when you went back to kind of 2015 on, 2014-15 on when Lansdowne first made their mark. You had the rivalry of Lansdowne, Tarf, Conway, in that trio. And here you are in 2026 and Lansdowne Tarf again in a semi-final with, just maintaining that rivalry, that standard that both teams are good enough to win a league. Yeah, it's going. This one will be more physical, I think, than the other game. The other game, I think, will be physical and be full-blooded, but I think both teams will try and play there. Whereas I think this one here will be
blood and murder.
Bruce.
Yes,
Bruce. Springboks versus Springboks.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, it's Springboks versus Springboks, second test 2009, the Lions tour. As we said, 2 and 4 o'clock. We will call them in just a moment's time. UCD welcome Gary Owen to the Belfield Bowl. Berkey Moss said a couple of weeks ago, Gary Owen's consistency. The point that we always make on the pod is that obviously the level, and we'll be hearing from Morgan Lennon and Wesley in a couple of moments' time. When you go from 1B to 1A, it's just it's a different 80 minutes with all respect to all teams in Division 1B. But Gary Owen with nothing to lose, essentially. UCD, as you said, with a super performance against Terranure, didn't come away with the win. We have seen glimmers from UCD where they've beaten Lansdowne home and away, and Lansdowne are in a semi-final. But a tricky game for Emma McMahon's UCD to broach, and for Mike Sherry, Willie Staunton, and Shane O'Brien, it's a big opportunity and one that they will need a lot to go right to beat a UCD team. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very hard to prepare for a 1A side in the fact that like what they'll have is they're battle hardened. They've gone through 18 rounds of Division 1A. Yeah, they're right. They haven't won a lot of them because obviously they're in ninth, but they've gone through 18 rounds of Division 1A. So what they're used to in terms of physicality, in terms of teams playing for 80 minutes, in terms of speed, in terms of intensity, in terms of set piece pressure, maul, they've had to defend the Clontarf maul and scrum twice this year. They've had to put up with the Lansdowne line speed. They've had to try and match the Berries' speed of ball and play. You know what I mean? They've had to, so if they bring that level of physicality and intensity to the fore, Gary Owen will have to adjust to it, and they will be a little alien to him. And Gary Owen will know that. But if you see are a little bit off, and Gary Owen can get parity at scrum, maul, and can feel not that they're under unbelievable pressure in attack, that they have a second, and that they can, they're not under outrageous pressure and losing collisions after collision after collision. Then they have a shot, but.
Yeah.
It's for me. Usually our favourites, but it'll be interesting to see how they go and how they match up.
Indeed, it will. That at 2:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday afternoon. This Saturday coming. That is our review of Division 1A to all the teams not involved in games this weekend are very well done in the season, and put the feet up, enjoy a couple of beers or whatnot, or 0-0s in advance to the semi-finals this weekend. Our Ace of Clubs update. It is going to be a cracking finish. Rowan McDonald of Monkstown on 352 points in first. Rory Gleeson from Cavan on 351 points. And Dean Fanning and Garryowen on 350. Unfortunately, I cannot read out the next 15 people because we just don't have time for that. But the hosts were 316. Myself, Mars Hartree on 301, 15 points behind me, and Berkey is 294th. That's about 35 points behind me. We will be speaking about the Division 1B semi-final in just a few moments' time between Trinity and Instonians. And before we do speak to Morgan Lennon and co, Berkey, in one word, St. Mary's or Terranure?
Mary's.
Clontarf for Lansdowne?
Lansdowne.
Lansdowne. Big.
That's no disrespect to either side. I don't mean anything by that, but
Yeah.
that's going to head scenario.
One score games either side. I agree entirely as well. Make sure to enter Ace Clubs on time. It will be up on Friday evening latest. All games kicking off on Saturday. Make sure to have it filled out. It is bound to be absolutely unbelievable is the way to describe it, with Division 1A. Before we get to Division 1B, we spoke to Morgan Lennon, Kieran O'Shea and Eoin Deegan a little earlier on. Live from the Intercontinental, live on this evening's Club Scene podcast powered by Energia. We're delighted to say we're joined by Morgan Lennon, Kieran O'Shea, Eoin Deegan and Alan Large of Old Wesley after their historic Division 1B championship win. The snapshot after 18 games, 14 wins, 4 losses and 11 try bonus points, one more than Trinity, seal the title on the final day with a 45 win in the city of Armagh. There have been many heartbreaks and heartaches in the playoffs over the years, but Division 1A status secured and back in the top flight for the first time since 1997. You have a big birthday to celebrate tomorrow, Morgan Lennon. You had a big birthday to celebrate a decade ago without giving anything away, but in all seriousness, Division 1A, has it sunk in? And just kind of bring us the emotion that you felt on last Saturday at full time in City of Armagh.
Has it sunk in? I don't think so. Actually, I was talking about to people who hadn't seen the game and stuff over the weekend, and I genuinely, it's been an amazing journey this last kind of 7 or 8 days, really, because I get so many messages from so many people from so many people around the country. Like it was really bizarre to my phone was popping, and I don't like, it's beginning to sink in this week when you're back to work and you're trying to get back to reality and prepare for next year, and you're having lots of different conversations with people. So from that perspective, it's sinking in, no doubt about it. But as regards the emotion of last week, I think there was a huge outpouring of emotion last week from myself, from all of us, really, who've been involved for a very long time. Like Ian Cassidy, who's a guy who stepped into the breach this year and played 2 games for us when we had a few injuries and came out of retirement briefly. And he said to me last Monday in the blue light, he said he didn't know where to go, and he had to go down the end of the pitch on his own to cry away on his own down the back of behind the posts in Armagh, because he just didn't know what to do with himself. And he was on the phone to Ian McGann, who's another guy
Ganzi,
Ganzi couldn't make it. He was away in I don't know where he was, away in Malaga or something. In Madrid, yeah. So he and they were on the phone to each other, and they just said it was just the emotion was so high, and I suppose to have my wife and kids there was big for me as well, and my dad and my uncles. There was a whole lot of family up there, was big as well, because like obviously needs to be involved dealing with me on Saturday evenings after losses to Garryowen or Nace or whoever else we lost to, So she's been there through all that. The boys have been there through all that. So to see, to turn around to the boys and say to them, "Listen, lads, I'm going to see you on Tuesday," was quite something, So it was, look, it was an amazing day. It really was an amazing day. It's been an amazing few weeks, actually. It's been an amazing few weeks.
Sensational. Captain Fantastic, Kieran O'Shea and Eoin Deegan, who has played an extremely valuable part in the squad from a playing perspective, Division 1A is Division 1A, but the season that you guys put down, resilience, is something that comes to mind. There were a couple of speed bumps and roadblocks. Talk to us about the weeks and the build up to kind of City of Armagh and the belief within the group to finally get over that hurdle, and what it was like from a player's perspective, with no wives or kids to have to go home to very late at night, which we'll get to in the celebration side. But the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty nervous few weeks. Obviously, there was so much to play for the last few weeks of the season, right up until the final game. But I just think we had a tricky period in around February where we lost 3 games in a row, and I'm sure people were saying the wheels are coming off, and this is not a Wesley battle job, but like inside messaging coming from the lads and around the team, and just how positive all the lads have been, like around training week in, week out. Just keep believing that we were going to go do it, and we broke the last block into 3 games, just took it one game at a time and just started taking them off, and we started to build back up momentum, and then came down to Armagh last game of the season, and I think we had the best week of training we've had all year since I've been involved, and that just paid off then on Saturday. So yeah.
Do you echo that sentiment, Owen?
Yeah, I agree. I suppose it also helped that we had such a new squad this year. I think a lot of lads didn't have the fear of the bottle that I would have had, I'll say, after getting so close so many times. So I think it was a lot of lads were fresh and more excited and nervous, I think, in the last few weeks. Everyone just kind of felt like it was on us and we just needed to get the job done. So I think that was important as well.
Largy, we had a chat a couple of years ago on the coaching course about where Wesley could go, where you're situated. But is there anything in particular that jumps out for you that was different this season that you could put your finger on versus a couple of other seasons? I know the lads have said bottle jobs. It's very difficult to get promoted in that as well. But you see where you're coming from. Like Morgan has mentioned Cassidy and Ganzi and those lads. And I go even further. I go Mark Rowley, Darren Horan, all those guys that would have played years and years ago. But is there anything you can specifically pinpoint that was different this year? Is there a seminal moment where you go, this is the squad, this is where we're going to do it?
Yeah, like I think we started the year, and myself and Lenny, like obviously everyone knows how many players we lost last year, and we had a senior player group of 7 players last year, and we started pre-season with not one of them around anymore. So we kind of saw this as a bit of a transition year. We obviously recruited strongly and had a good group. And we went to Salou in September, and I think most people think of Salou in September and you probably are just going on the piss, but we got so much out of that as a group. It really brought everyone together, especially when you've got so many new players. And like they are a young group. They were a young group in September, and I think we probably, we thought it was a bit of a transition year, but actually how it turned out was because maybe a lot of them didn't have other commitments outside of rugby. They actually just socialized together a lot and spent a lot of time together and probably built a team unity and team culture that we haven't had in a very long time. That's not to say that all those other teams we coached didn't have that, but this group, for whatever reason, clicked as a group massively and came together. And that just kind of, when times were tough during the year, and there were certainly times like we definitely could have lost games, like Rockaway for me is definitely a game before Christmas we could have lost, and we scored in the last 2 minutes to get 5 points from it. For me, that's when you talk about seminal moments. That for me was a huge moment pre-Christmas to get 5 points there. And then I think for us as a coaching group, you almost learn. Like when we lost those 3 games, I think other years, like Kieran talks about the bottle job, the Wesley bottle job, like we just kind of looked at it and we're like, I don't think we're actually 10 points better than any other team in this league. You're judged over 18 games. Let's stick to our process and see where it takes us after Armagh, after game 18. And we stuck to that, whereas other years we might have tried to change things because we started to get worried. And I think as a coaching group, we've definitely learned from that over the few years. So yeah, a few things in there, and the new group and the learnings from us as coaches, I think definitely stood to us.
Incredible stuff. Morgan, in terms of the step up from 1B to 1A, we don't need to go into massive detail in it now because you're basking in the glory of 3-day benders and heading into more nights out this weekend. But how do you begin to even think about Division 1A? Is there a certain point in time where yourself and Largy and Co will go, okay, right, we've enough enjoying, has the work already started? And do you look at teams like St. Mary's and Belvedere who have been respectively promoted in the last 2 years, excuse me, and go, is there something that we can kind of tap into there that will help us in Division 1A next year?
Yeah, I think we have been looking at this for a very long time, I guess, you know what I mean? Like we've been there tipping away, performing at the top of 1B for a very long time and watching 1A and obviously there's an understanding that it's an incredibly competitive league, ferocious, relentless, like every week is tough. You don't get away with anything up there. Every time you make a mistake, you get punished, all those things, you know. So like from our perspective, we're fully aware of the step up it's gonna be, and I think the players are too. But I think as Largy said, like I think there's an excitement around it, you know. So from our group that we have at the moment, there's a real excitement around it, you know. And I mean, we they're ambitious, they're young, and they're hopefully going to be with us for 5 or 6 years as a group. So it's a group we can add to, without a doubt. We hope, you know, we'll hopefully attract some attention now. Like, you know, you've kind of one of the fears at this time of year was always, oh, what happens if Kieran O'Shea goes to fancies playing 1A and takes off, you know? Well, maybe he's probably the wrong person to talk about, but but you know, maybe somebody decides they want to go and play 1A, you know what I mean? And now we are that team in 1A, so like you'd expect us to be able to hold on to what we have, plus add to it and develop that. There's been a big focus, there's a good background group going on, first time in a very long time. I think there's a group of people who are, you know, kind of getting together to try and see what we need to do in order to make sure we stay in 1A and are competitive. Like we are not interested in going up and coming back down again, or going up and like, look, there's no question it's going to be physical, it's going to be a step up. We all know that, like we're fully aware of that. But like the players are fully invested. Like I'm getting, you know, like people like Stephen Smith, Billy Cargan, these guys who were involved in the Leinster Academy are very, very much invested in it, and they want us to be there and stay there and recognize that it's where the club belongs. Like, because, you know, Energia Park, the clubhouse, the gym, it's 1A facility, standard facilities that we want to be competing at the top level, you know. And yes, Marys and Belva have done fantastically well, and credit to Quentin and Mark McHugh for doing what they've done this year. But like you can see, I think what did Belva win this year? 9 games.
Yeah.
And finished seventh, is it? Seventh, maybe, 7 or 8, you know. So it's going to be ferociously competitive. So, and we want to add to that competitiveness. You know what I mean? We don't want to be the team that are going up there and are going to roll over every week. That's not our intention. Our intention is to come up and compete, you know, and trying to get the right backbone in place to be able to do that is a really big part of the next 6 or 8 weeks, you know, and onwards probably.
Absolutely. For clarity, there was a lot of messages in. There was no trophy on the day in the city of Armagh. The trophy will be presented this Friday night. Another excuse for a night out. And there will be, I'm reliably informed, 30 full kit wankers, aka John Terry in Champions League finals, which we will get to. But it has been very serious. Kieran O'Shea is the captain of the club. Talk us through post-match in the change room. Obviously, the 10 minutes of everybody realising the achievement. Bus back down, session more, night out, night 2, night 3. It's all a bit of poor singing with, I think it was Vance Joy Riptide at some establishment, but Berkey more so than anyone wants to find out the detail here, because this is what keeps us young, living through players like yourself and Mr. Deegan there.
Geez, yeah, I think it all really kind of merged into one day and one night. Really, it was just non-stop. But no, the celebrations were unbelievable, and such relief around the place, and to have we'd bus support coming up from Wesley, and you know, family members traveling from as far as Cork up to Armagh just to celebrate with us. So that was pretty special for us as players to see that. But yeah, the next few days that followed, a bit of a blur. But great crack, yeah.
It's probably important, sorry to jump in, but it's probably important to recognize the fact, like the lift that we got from just seeing supporters buses rolling into Armagh on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock. Like, and one of the things I would say is the last 3, 4, probably since Gary Owen lives, probably is it like the crowds in Donnybrook, the stand, the supporters buses rolling in, full supporters buses rolling in, people driving up from all over the country to support us has been absolutely incredible, and it's really made a big difference. You look over your shoulder in the stands against Gary Owen, and the stand was nearly full. Like, it was incredible. And the same against Nace probably as well. It was a massive crowd there against Nace too. So it's been fantastic. Obviously, it's been built on momentum of the boys playing well and stuff. And then the other thing I would say is that there's a group of guys who are working with the minis, who would be of kind of Largy's age profile, be friends of mine, friends of Largy's, and they're working with the minis at the moment, and they have reconnected the club with the minis. Do you know, the senior club and even the junior team, they've reconnected them with the minis. So they're bringing them down. We're going up to Ballycourse, because you see, one of the problems obviously is that we're a little bit disconnected, because the minis train up in Ballycourse and stuff, but the minis have been down at all the games, which means their parents are coming too, which obviously increases the numbers behind the bar, increases the numbers in the stand. So it's been a really, so people like Jamie McConnell, Neil Richmond, there's a whole load of Mackers, a whole load of people there that you could compliment on the way they've reconnected, and that's probably been led by the president, Patricia Parfrey. She was the coordinator of the minis for a very long time, and it's all been reconnected by those people, and made a big difference to us, I suppose.
No, I know Kieran's trying to protect his job in EY, but he failed to mention that him and his girlfriend were up on the rafters drinking out of a cup that they found downstairs somewhere, because the IRFU didn't get us one. So I know he's been very prudent in his
the health and safety.
The
health and safety was passed. Mike, I'm sure the Weefers and everybody in Wesley, myself and Berkey, have had the privilege of being told we had to go fucking downstairs in case Mark Rowley was nude up on top of the rafters way back when. So he's not.
We weren't good enough for upstairs. Father.
Yeah, there's something in the water.
Kieran's broken that Limerick threshold now, so he's welcome up on the rafters.
I don't know. I saw the video. Where were your shoes and socks?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I think the lads got at my feet and took them away.
That's a rule, Berkey. You're not allowed in the rafters with your shoes and socks on. You don't know that.
Oh yeah, you got to keep it classy up there.
Yeah, it's like go to your grandparents' house. You have to take your shoes off.
Can I come in there a sec, Frolls? Look, whoever wants to come in here, so it's like you're talking a decade ago. You won 2A, and incredible. And let's call a spade a spade. I think we all probably expected Wesley to get to 1A a little bit quicker than you did, and you suffered some heartache along the way. And I think the year you lost to Nace probably is the one that stands out in a year that, you really should have gone up, you were good enough, and whatever happened. Did you at any point, Morgan, or did it in your head, this isn't going to happen, maybe it's time for someone else to have a go? Fuck it, it's taking too much out of me. Like, I know myself, of course, like the emotional energy, when you're coming that close, I can't stress enough the respect around the country people have for Wesley, for staying, the resilience you've shown to keep coming back and now to get your just reward. But were there times when you thought, no, it's time for another group to have their smash at it?
Every year, Berkey, every year. We'd have had conversations, myself and Largy, every single year, and Dave German, I don't know whether you've ever come across Dave German, but one of the great people in the world. But we would have had conversations every year, going really, is this somebody else's go? Do we need to step out here, or maybe somebody else needs to have a go at this, because we're not having much success. We're throwing a lot of near misses, but that's obviously not good enough when you're trying to get promoted or trying to win a league. And obviously the playoffs is a toxic enough place to try and get out of.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we always said like the way to do it is to win it. Obviously, I mean that's kind of a no-brainer, I guess. But like we always kind of came back to that.
I think
But
I was like involved in the club when we were one game away from being a junior club. In probably 2006 or 7, 2007, we were bottom of Division 3, went away to Water Park. Whoever lost got relegated, and there was a lot of years in Division 3, and then a good few in Division 2, and then a good few in 2A and 1B. And I suppose when you've been on that journey, you almost appreciate the position you're in 1B. And I know everyone probably thought we should be in 1A, but you also look at the teams that were in 1B and then are now in 2B or 2C or wherever they are. So you almost, if you look at it from the glass half full perspective, you kind of say, geez, actually, we're not doing that bad a job. And if we kind of keep on building the process, we'll get there eventually. But yeah, there obviously were dark days where we didn't make the playoffs last year with what should have been a very strong group. But I think when you look at it on the flip side, as you will as a coach, Berkey, as well, sometimes you're actually doing a better job than maybe you're giving yourself credit for.
Absolutely, and there's probably times where you found yourselves the 11th best team in the country, you just couldn't break that top 10 for whatever reason. And you're right, perspective is everything when you were that close to junior at one point. Can I maybe ask the lads to come in on this? I know a couple of lads that have played for you and current lads that play for you. And the one thing I think that probably made it easier for you is that you seem to have a fantastic dynamic between your players and your coaches. You're in it so long you're probably not aware of it, but it's something I've heard of time and time again from different players that are involved up there, and the lads might come in this. That probably does make it easier for the longevity because you seem to really, really enjoy what you do, lads.
is that us? Me?
Yeah, or whoever wants to come in there. Sorry, I know it's 100% opening the statement.
Most of the time, yeah. I guess one of the things I said to the lads last week when I wasn't crying was, you know, when I took over as head coach in 2014, 2015, and we won 2A, I thought, Jesus, sure, this is handy, huh? Like, you know, you walk in, you win an AIL, we'll be in 1A before we know it, and it'll all be good. And we had some decent players at the time, we real quality, like, you know, as you say, the Rowley boys and that, like, and lots more. Darren Horn will never let me forgive him if he won't ever forgive me if I don't mention his name. But like, there's lots of good players there, and for whatever reason, it didn't happen. So 10 years later, I'm standing on the pitch last week, and there's 3, if not 4, lads who are just out of school in that team last weekend, and I'm going, lads, you've got to go and enjoy this. Like, you've got to stand back and recognize what you've done here, because it doesn't happen just like that. You know what I mean? So I guess that maybe it's all the sweeter, and that's why, like, I love rocking up Tuesday, Thursday, and the comms with the lads, and being involved with the lads. You know, like, you wouldn't do it, you couldn't do it. As you said, the emotional energy, Berkey, that goes into it week to week is, I don't think there's no way of describing it unless you're in it, is there? I don't think so, you know. And unless you're invested in it as well, you know, like, and obviously when you've given 10 years of your life to something, you're probably invested in it pretty much, or Large has given 40 years of his life to it. But like, you know, we're all in it because we want to do it, like, and because we enjoy it. It's like, it's a phenomenal club full of amazing people, you know. Like you look back and like, just post COVID, there was a fella called Bobby Mackin who used to travel to all the games all around the country, you know, and he passed. And he used to travel with 2 of his friends, and the other 2 lads are still alive, thank God. And they were there on Saturday, you know. And like, it's just phenomenal to see people like that who have given so much of their time, and and the same in every club. Like, I know, you know, Con and Bowles and everybody has people like that, you know. But like, when you see those faces on Saturday, so happy, it's what it's all about. Like,
They're important. They're important. They're important to be acknowledged as well at moments of that, aren't they?
Yeah, oh, totally. Like, and again, you know, I'm always afraid to start acknowledging people, because you'll always leave somebody out, you know what I mean? And somebody will be offended. But like, there's just so many people that we could acknowledge to getting here. So many players, so many coaches. Like, I mean, we've changed our coaching ticket a few times for various different reasons. We've never actually gone like one of the things about like the club is very loyal. Dave German's a very loyal person as a director of rugby, chairman of rugby, and like he would have never we'd have never kind of said to somebody, "Oh, listen, I think you need to move on. And you've done enough here now." That's not, but we have, for whatever reason, we've kind of, every now and then you lose somebody, Charles Herbie in Dumbleton, Willie Clancy, God, I'm probably missing people there as well. But you're always going to lose. There's turnover when you're there for a long time. There's always going to be turnover, I suppose. So like all of those people deserve credit for the foundations that have been built in the club to this point. It's just that me and
I think what as well, Berkey, what you're saying, like around as coaches, we'd be quite close with players, like in and like I don't like obviously I've never been in another club, so I don't know what it's like in another club. But our way of approaching it is that we're as not mates, like as close to mates, I suppose, as you can be as a coach-player relationship. But going back to your previous question around did we ever think it wouldn't happen? Like you start to question. We've got the lovely Astro pitch. We've trained in lovely facilities. We are quite close with our players. Are we hard enough on them? And that's the questions you start asking yourself. Like, is it almost too close? Are we too like friendly with them? Do we have too nice a setup for lads? And that's why when it gets to the crunch end of the season, we're not getting it done. So all those questions definitely come into your head. But I suppose we stuck to what we believed in and our values. And I suppose thankfully we've been vindicated now, or else myself and Morgan would be probably finishing it up now.
Very, very well said, lads. And you can have the full list of thank yous when the RFU present you with the trophy on Friday. And like Father Ted Crilly, the list of people I don't like. But
I was actually asked today, Froley, would I like to present the trophy myself? I was like, but you're like, what's the point in me presenting the trophy to I was like, no thanks.
Yeah, if I forgot to present the trophy, I wouldn't want to present it either. But that's the story for another day.
Whenever poor RFU employee has to go down the road there at 7 o'clock, I'm sure he'll get overtime.
Yeah, and the wedgie.
No, I've annual leave. I've annual leave booked for that day. Lads, before we get to the quick fire questions, none of the social media questions were suitable. I did want to touch on the semi-finals preview in Division 1B. Trinity face off against Estonians in College Park on Saturday. UCD Garryowen and Belfield, you obviously have played against Garryowen. Trinity and Estonians. Largely from a back's perspective, I think Trinity have played some really good ball. Like looking at that semi-final, do you think it's tilted in favour of Trinity and having played Estonians as well? They're a very, very good side. But what way do you see that game going?
Yeah, and both teams play serious rugby. Like Bradley McNamara, Bevan Prinsloo, these lads tore us to shreds in 2 games this season. It's the only team we lost to twice. So unfortunately, I think injuries have caught up with Estonians, and I'd be leaning towards Trinity there. I don't think College Park is that intimidating a place to go to. I don't think home advantage means that much, but I just think the injuries, unfortunately, based on the last few team sheets I've seen, have caught up with Estonians, so I'll be back in Trinity there, yeah.
Yeah, Kieran O'Shea and Eoin Deegan, you've both played against Garryowen. At the top of the pod, myself and Berkey were speaking about the jump from 1B to 1A, something you guys will experience next year. But Garryowen against UCD, what kind of way do you guys see that game going?
Haven't seen a whole lot of UCD, so it's kind of tough to answer that. Garryowen were quality. When we came up against them at the end of the season, we got one up in them down in Dward Oil, which was nice for us. I don't know, yeah, UCD, get a Cutters final maybe.
Yeah, get off the rafters there, Nibbles. But Eoin Deegan, would you be of the same opinion between that Garryowen and UCD game, Trinity and Estonians, 3 quality sides?
Yeah, although I disagree with Largy. I think Estonians might get the edge on Trinity going down there. I think they've older heads and might have enough experience to grind it out in a
semi-final. We'll put a tenner on that, Diego, will we?
Yeah,
that's no problem.
Nice, right. The silent assassin.
There, so you can see the dynamic there. No other player in the AIL would have the balls to disagree with their coach. Not even a podcast.
He's going to Australia, so he can stand up to me now.
Morgan, one word: Trinity or Estonians?
Trinity.
UCD or Garryowen?
Oh, uh, I think Gary Owen.
Oh,
Interesting. The
Huge.
quick fire questions before we let you go to get your shirts ironed for the trophy presentation on Friday. Um, Kieran
We wear
O'Shea,
Air Texas for us.
huh?
We join them. We wear Air Texas.
Yeah.
Foot
Polo
Air
shirts. You know
Texas.
what I mean? Polo shirts.
Very
I'm
D4.
I'm changing the quick fire questions as well. Kieran O'Shea, who's
what
the big
color chinos do you wear?
Maybe. No,
turquoise?
No.
cream turquoise, yeah.
Kieran O'Shea, who was the biggest liability on the 2 and 3 day bender in the squad?
I know.
Kieran Egan, easy.
Easy, very, very easy. Owen Deegan, who was the most valuable person on the 3 day bender?
Shane Cawley.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Largy, the best game that you played in this season?
Armagh.
Morgan Lennon, the ground you're most looking forward to visiting in Division 1A next season?
Oh, wow. Temple Hill.
Nice. Berkey won't be there, you know that.
I know.
And the best place for an after match point, one at a time, starting with Morgan, then Kieran, Owen, and Largy.
I was on before and I said Armagh, and seeing as how I'm coming out the back of last weekend, I'm going to say Armagh again.
No problem. Nibbles,
Highfield.
Highfield. Owen Deegan.
UCC, always great service down there.
Nice. Good man for the service as well, always acknowledging the hospitality. And Alan Large, last but not least.
Highfield as well.
Highfield as well. Big love for Munster. From all here at the Club Scene Podcast, powered by Energia. Congratulations to Old Wesley, a long time coming. Morgan Lennon, happy 40 plus tax. Enjoy the off season, lads, and we will hopefully cross paths with Berkey in the Intercontinental at some stage over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I hope so.
Cheers, lads.
Yes, very well done to Old Wesley there, finally breaking the duct and promoted after 10 years of trying. What a story it's been. The results, as we said, from round 18 of Division 1B, Dublin University 34, Blackrock College 24, meaning that Dublin University will have a home semi-final against Estonians. Blackrock College will play in Division 1B. Huge congratulations as well to James Blaney. What a career he's had with Blackrock. He has stepped down from Stradbrook, and he's brought them from Division 2B to the cusp of Division 1A, and yes, some well earned downtime there. Old Wesley, as we just heard, 45 points to nil winners against City of Armagh. They are promoted to Division 1A. City of Armagh missing out on the playoffs. Chris Parker's side consolidating their place in Division 1B, and no doubt will be a force to be reckoned with next year. Nace's 47 points to 26 win against Estonians means that they survive in Division 1B. Estonians with an away semi-final to look forward to against Trinity this weekend. Queen's University went out on a high, 31 points to 19 winners over Highfield in Dublin. Queen's relegated and will play their rugby in Division 2A next season. Highfield, under James Cronin, a sensational season, winning the Munster Senior Cup. They're still in the Munster Junior Cup and have a place in Division 1B next season. And UCC were 24 points to 10 winners over Garryowen and the Mardike Garryowen away to UCD. They were already qualified for the playoffs. UCC winning on the day, but they will be in the relegation playoff against Corinthians this Saturday coming. Berkey, we heard from Old Wesley that it was an incredibly physical, hot and heavy season, with them ultimately winning it. Looking at Dublin University and Estonians, the Trinity of old, we know, with Tony Smead back in playing, missed out on automatic promotion by a point. Old Wesley thoroughly deserving of it. Estonians, we just heard Alan Argenco say a couple of injuries shipped David Whitten out for the season. Their talismanic leader from in the back row has played a lot of rugby in the second row as well, but just an all-around great player and fella. He is out at the weekend, and as we said, Garryowen UCD, which we've already spoken about. But just overall, Highfield through James Cronin, Blackrock, as I said, with James Blaney, Nace surviving in UCC in the playoff. Another incredible season in Division 1B, and these semi-finals at the bottom and top of the table this weekend are going to be humdingers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, probably even a little more so than 1A. ridiculously unpredictable. Like a 1B tends to be, everyone can beat everyone. Wesley did take a lead early, but even they were dragged back into the midst of it this year. There was no real runaway part. And right down to the wire, to see who was going to end up where, and results still mattering up to round 18, which is what you want in the league. But again, I would agree. I think the table is probably a fair reflection of the season, and teams finished where they probably deserved. Interesting. I think Trinity is an interesting one. Estonians, and they're right to do so. Very much sent a weakened team to Naas. Naas fighting for their lives, obviously, to keep down. And I just think, I think Trinity are favourites, and I think Trinity are the informed team. I don't know. I wouldn't write off Estonians. Everything they've been through the last couple of years. When it's mattered most, they've won, and it's been probably a little easier for them, but they've been planning now and prepping for this for a couple of weeks. And it's a huge game.
Yes, it is.
I just think, I think Trinity Estonians will be quite confident. Trinity are the favourites, but I think Estonians will bring a big crowd down from Belfast, and it's going to be tighter than a lot of people think, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. I think that between Paul Pritchard and Tony Smead, they will both be trying to find ways to unlock defences and whatnot, but it is all set up to be an absolute cracker of a game. That at 2:30 in College Park. Garryowen against UCD, as we said, is on at the Belfield Bowl. That's at 2:30 as well. Just a quick word, Berkey, Blackrock College, James Blaney, a poignant post. He is departing Blackrock College after a phenomenal number of years there. The team coming from Division 2B, he brought them from the abyss, and I say that with respect, from 2B to 2A, then an automatic promotion again from 2A, or back-to-back promotion, excuse me, from 2A to 1B, and was on the cusp of bringing the team close to 1A as well. But all good things must come to an end. But an absolute legend of the game, in his own right as a player and as a coach as well. Had an unbelievable stint with Terenure College before Blackrock.
Yeah, he took the words out of my mouth. It was like that. This is on his latest reign, coaching the AIL. He did a phenomenal job with Terenure before that. And in fairness to the guy, I don't think there's many coaches out there will have as good a winning record as he has in terms of climbing divisions and doing it with two different clubs. Just proves his quality. What we gather, we were speculating as to why he might be stepping aside. I think he's looking forward to a bit of a rest and taking a step back and enjoying a couple of points on a Saturday as opposed to coaching, which if anyone has earned it, he has. And wish him a happy retirement. And again, just phenomenal job that he's done.
Indeed, he has. UCC will face off against Corinthians this weekend. Naas win on the final day means that they survive in 8th, Johnny Murphy's side. Jekyll and Hyde for the season, but they are in Division 1B next season. Saturday, 2:30, Dublin University and Estonians, Garryowen UCD. Berkey, Dublin University or Estonians?
I have to say Trinity, but I would not be surprised if Estonians pull off one.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair comment. And whoever does manage to win Ace of Clubs will win it rightfully, because the games are very, very difficult to call. As we said, the Division 1B relegation playoff, UCC face off against Galway Corinthians and Shannon Dungannon, which we'll get to in a few moments' time. So in Division 1B, as we said, Old Wesley promoted, Dublin University and Estonians in the semi-final. Garryowen themselves against UCD. Highfield finishing in 5th under James Cronin, Blackrock College in 6th. Chris Parker's Armagh in 7th. Johnny Murphy's Naas in 8th, and UCC and Queens in 9th. And the relegation playoff in Queens will play their rugby in Division 2A. In Division 2A, on the final day of the season, no shortage of drama there. Ballymena were 43 points to 3 winners over Old Crescent in Eaton Park, meaning they finished 7th in the league with Old Crescent in a relegation playoff against Sligo this Saturday. Galway Corinthians were 31 points to 5 winners over Banbridge, who were already relegated in Rifle Park, meaning Galway Corinthians snuck into 4th place meaning they will play UCC this weekend. Cashel were beaten 24 points to 12 at home by Shannon in Spafield. Shannon confirming their home semi-final against Dungannon. Cashel finishing in 6th. Rocky enough season for Ray Maloney and Mark Butler, but managing to get a couple of runs together. Almost got into the playoffs, but they will play their rugby in Division 2A next season. Dungannon were 33 points to 14 winners over Greystones, which means that they will go to Shannon. What a semi-final that's going to be, with one win each between Johnny Gillespie's Shannon and Lee Nicholas. Johnny Gillespie's Dungannon, and Lee Nicholas's Shannon. And Barnhall, what a year it's been for them as a club from top to bottom. 26 points to 20 winners over Wanderers in Parsonstown, meaning that they are crowned champions and will play their rugby in Division 1B. We've known that for quite some time. A word on Wanderers as well. The fact that they lost that game, they just missed out on the playoffs by a point, but a huge effort after their promotion last year from Division 2B, and no doubt they will be in line for at least playoffs next year if they keep going the way they were going. Berkey with Division 2A, Shannon Dungannon in semi-finals. Old Crescent will face off against Sligo, but we spoke about Barnhall at the top of the show. Much like Old Wesley, with just speaking to the lads, it didn't happen overnight, and they're worthy champions.
Say that again, Paul, sorry?
It didn't happen overnight with Barnhall, and they're worthy champions.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sure. We spoke about Barnhall at the top of the show. Like, yeah, they're phenomenal outfit. Got the job done a couple of weeks ago, but then managed to finish on a high. Unfortunate for Wanderers that cost them, but I think they'll be very happy with a brilliant season coming up. They're a club that really seem to be going from strength to strength. It's funny, look, like Shannon Dungannon in the AIL semi-final, you know, once upon a time you'd have said, well, obviously that's Division 1A, you know, two historic clubs with huge history, but it's Division 2A, and two clubs that, in fairness, doing a lot of things right to try and put themselves back where that they would believe they belong, and that's climbing back up to divisions. Shannon, to be fair, probably favourites, but again, cracker of a game in store there.
Absolutely, 100%. Shannon Dungannon is on the Thomond Park back pitch this Saturday. Shannon beating Dungannon at the same venue a couple of rounds ago. Dungannon winning in Stevenson Park. Corinthians faced off against UCC in the Mardyke on Saturday. Just a word, Berkey, Old Crescent, Sligo on Saturday. Old Crescent with a bit of a revival a couple of weeks back against Greystones. Not the easiest season for Michael Harding in his first year with Old Crescent, but a big job on their hands against the Sligo side that have a lot of experience in playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose we don't want to be speaking about people, you know, that send messages and stuff from Friday, but Sligo are a club that, from our first interaction with them, Franz, to messages we've been getting on social media and other platforms, even right up to yesterday, Franz, the message came through. They have desires to partake in All Ireland League that includes travelling the length and breadth of the country. It means a hell of a lot to them, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to be in Division 2A.
Yeah, indeed they are. So in Division 2A, Barnhall champions Shannon Dungannon face off. Galway Corinthians go to Cork against UCD. Wanderers miss out on the playoffs. Cashel, Ballymena and Greystones in 6th, 7th and 8th. Old Crescent face off against Sligo, and Banbridge will play their rugby in Division 2B North next season. The Ace of Clubs will be online ahead of this weekend's fixtures. All games are up to play for. Plenty at stake on the field, and bragging rights in WhatsApp groups and whatnot. In Division 2B, Clogher Valley were 19 points to 14 winners over Rainey in the Crann and 5 Mile Town. Enniscorthy were 36-25 winners against Malone in Allcast Park. Clogher Valley will go away to UL Bowes, and Rainey missing out on the playoffs after that loss at the weekend. Enniscorthy and Malone will both take their places in Division 2B South and North respectively. We will bring you that finalised one when we know what way those leagues are, but for those two sides, their season is done. Buccaneers got bragging rights of sorts, winning and spoiling the Champions Party 20 points to 7 against Galwegians in Crowley Park. Bucks will compete in Division 2B North as well. Galwegians have been head and shoulders above the rest of teams in Division 2B and will take their place in the All-Ireland League in Division 2A next year. And UL Bows 54 points to 5 win over Navan on the UL4G pitch has set up a mouth-watering semi-final clash against Clogher Valley on Saturday afternoon. Sligo, their 39 points to 7 win against Skerries did confirm them in fourth place, and they will play Old Crescent on Saturday afternoon in Rossbrine. Berkey, a word on Simon Malone's UL Bows against Clogher Valley, the tide turning. Home advantage in this one, a real talking point, given either of these teams who lose at the weekend are going to either be in 2B South or 2B North. But UL Bows managing to capitalise on Clogher Valley's loss against Malone. It saved them thousands of euros in travel, but at the same time, they're 80 minutes away from a playoff final, and it's set up to be an absolute humdinger between Bows and Clogher Valley.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think, I think first and foremost, I think Simon Malone needs the credit. Turned a lot of heads when he was in there. He was kind of probably teed up to do it with other clubs, and when we went in there, people were kind of saying, "Well, it was a peculiar move or appointment." But to be fair to the guy, he's got in doing a fantastic job. He's done some very tidy business in some of the players he's brought from probably at the fringes of other squads around Limerick. They're playing some very, very good rugby this season, in fairness to Bows. And yeah, I think they're in a very positive place. They've had probably one of the more positive seasons than they've had in a while, and I think they'll be full of confidence, and there'll be a real element of why not? Why not them? Like, why shouldn't they go on and win it? And they'll be tough to beat.
Indeed, they will. The Magic Bus from Hamilton Park will make the whole way down, part motorway, and then part secondary road to Takumi Park on Saturday afternoon as they face off against Crescent. Malone Rainey in 5th and 6th will play in Division 2B North next year, as will Buccaneers. Enniscorthy will be in 2B South, Navan as it stands in 2B North, and Skerries in 2B North or 2B South to be confirmed. Galwegians promoted to Division 2A, and UL Bows Clogher Valley in a semi-final this weekend. To the teams not involved, put the feet up and enjoy the games this weekend. Pre-season is never that far away. In Division 2C, there was no shortage of drama at the bottom of the table on the 5th of April. Ballyclare were beaten 32 points to 29 by Clonmel in the Clock and Pat O'Connor side, finishing top of the table in the regular season. They will face off against Dolphin. Bective Rangers with 30 points to 12 winners against Thomond in Energia Park. Chuck has been absolutely legendary all year. What an addition as Simon, aka Chuck, has been to the Energia All-Ireland League with Bective, and their win means that they get a home semi-final against the same opposition this Saturday with Thomond 2:30 in the afternoon. Middleton finished on a high 26 points to 14 winners over Bruff in Kilballyowen Park. They consolidated their place in senior rugby and will play in Division 2B South along with Bruff next year. Dolphin were 31 points to 14 winners against Belfast Harlequins in Virgin Media Park, meaning Dolphin will go to Clonmel in a mouth-watering Munster derby on Saturday afternoon. The loss for Belfast Harlequins, coupled with Malahide's sensational 31 points to 25 win over Monkstown, meant firstly that Monkstown didn't get fourth place, but also that Malahide survive in senior rugby until this weekend at the very least, on points difference after their 31 points to 25, because they got 5 points and Belfast Harlequins did manage to pick up a match point in Cork. Belfast Harlequins, a very, very proud club, relegated to the ranks of junior rugby in Ulster. Just a note on the Irish Rugby website, they've competed in the All-Ireland League since the club was founded in 1999 through the merger of North of Ireland FC and Collegians RFC, and they were Division 1 runners-up in 2005. 21 years ago, but dropped down to Division 2B in 2017, and this was their second year in Division 2C. We've been doing the podcast for a long time, and they're a very, very proud club, and we hope to see them back in the senior ranks. So a tough time, make sure they stick together. But Malahide will face off against Boyne, who were beaten 46 points to 8 by Enniskillen, who were promoted to senior ranks and will play in Division 2B North. We'll get to that as a standalone in a second. But Berkey, for all the restructuring and all the talk there, the top four, they will play for a trophy: Clonmel, Bective, Thomond and Dolphin. But huge credit to Malahide for a Houdini-like escape, given how far they were how far away they were from that a couple of weeks ago. Commiserations to Belfast Harlequins. A quite surreal Saturday and turn of events, given Malahide needed 5 points and everything to go their way, and it just did.
Yeah, 100%. geez, I wouldn't have put money on Malahide staying up, and you got to tip that to them. They kept going to the bitter end. Devastating for Belfast Harlequins. As I said, I think you said there, 2005. Remember that they lost the final in AIL Division One, Division One at the time, final to Shannon above Anson Road, and 20 years later, they're going to have to regroup and gather themselves. I'm sure that they have what's required to come back senior, but tough day, and just, commiserations to all involved. It's never easy or nice to see a club go from senior to junior, but hopefully, not for too long. As regards the rest of the division, yeah, I think because like that, they're playing for a trophy. They're not, there's no promotion or relegation. You don't have to think about that, and the consequences of going up a division. It's just sheer another pride of say that they were the champions, and why not? At the end of the day, that's why you play a sport for, to try and win. I think there'll be an element of shackles off in the semi-finals there from considering that.
Yeah, indeed. Clonmel welcome Dolphin to Arguia, Bective and Thomond in Energia Park on Saturday. Malahide will play Boyne. Just a word on that, Berkey. Enniskillen resounding winners, 46 points to 8. Boyne having beaten Kilfeacle 2 weeks previous. Enniskillen will play in Division 2B North next year, but a momentous occasion that they will move from the ranks of junior to senior. And Malahide against Boyne is going to be a cracker as well.
Absolutely. I suppose that's the other side of it. When a club goes from junior to senior, it's remarkable. It's got to be, it's a joyous occasion. It's probably one of the biggest days in the history of any given club. Didn't see that scoreline coming in the playoff final, I have to say.
I agree.
And Boyne will have to gather themselves, I suppose, for this weekend. Malahide will take confidence. The fact that they survived, obviously, and the fact that Enniskillen were so far ahead, but nonetheless, whatever way you look at it, it's one game to senior rugby for Boyne. That's a second chance. It doesn't matter whether they lost by a point or 40 points. They've got a second bite at the cherry. We saw that last year with Thomond. They were comfortably beaten in the final, and then went on to win the playoff. And they're finding themselves back in senior ranks this year.
Indeed, it will be. To all teams in Division 1A right the way to Division 2C that aren't involved in playoffs this weekend, make sure you put the feet up, and many thanks for listening. It is going to be some weekend ahead with semi-finals, promotion, playoffs and whatnot. If you are at games this weekend, X and Instagram us photos, points after results, tries, bus journeys, and use the hashtag Energia AIL. Ladies and gents, that is a wrap for Season 8, Episode 19. Many thanks to my co-hosts, Moss and Berkey, to Old Wesley's Morgan Lennon, Kieran O'Shea, Eoin Deegan and Alan Large, and of course to you, the listeners. I've been Dara Frawley. We've been the Club Scene Podcast powered by Energia. It's knockout rugby from here.
It's in the air, I breathe, I feel it.